That's the Lakers clap, baby. Lake Show.
Big W.
Well, welcome to the Hoops Rehab after a big Lakers win against those those Rockets. What were we talking about the other day?
Pesky Rockets. Those pesky Rockets.
Those pesky young Rockets, right? Good victory by the Lakers.
Yes, sir.
You know, got it done on a Monday night. But yeah, welcome you all to the Hoops Rehab Show. We got the Game Injury Doc. You can follow me at Game Injury Doc on all platforms. And then we got Eric B. Mack on Twitter and Instagram. So please follow him. He's my partner in crime in this new podcast show that we got going on. We're always going to be tuning in after every Laker game and talking about the NBA as well. So it's not just completely Lakers focused. We're going to be jumping around with injuries. We're going to be talking about other teams. We're going to be talking about hoops in general. All right. How you doing, Eric?
Pretty good. I was going to say you might have to might be the flu game for me tonight. Little under the weather with my tea, but, you know, I couldn't help but jump on after a big Laker W, and, you know, might have to have you carry me through this one, Doc. No, I'm kidding. But
No, I got you.
I couldn't resist after that big win, which I know we'll get into in a sec here.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, let's dive right into it, man. What do you think of the game plan, and then just the fact that they got a big win that they needed, especially with this many games to go. They needed that big time.
Oh yeah, I mean we've been talking about when you see teams like the Clippers, Warriors, even the T-Wolves on your heels, every game is really big, and then obviously this one with still having a chance at the 2 seed, hopefully the 2 or the 3. It was a must win in terms of obviously capturing or hoping to capture that spot. As far as the game goes, I mean, I don't know how you felt, but it felt like a kind of like a playoff kind of vibe, like atmosphere. It was 100%. Physical. It was obviously a little bit more on the low scoring end. That first and fourth quarter was just all about defense, and kudos to both ball clubs because they were playing their ass off. And luckily Lakers made a few extra plays at the end to get the all-important victory.
Yeah, I mean, exactly my sentiment. I mean, I think they played defensively as well as they could against a really good Rockets team. You know, they won 12 out of 13 coming into this game. You know, I saw, Jalen Green, they held him to 9 points, and he just got player of the week, or is it player of the month? I think it's player of the week, right?
Maybe player of the week, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
but he's
the fact that
they
shut him down was huge, just in general. Fred VanVleet didn't really get off to do much, and then, when you're doing to me, where they get a lot of success from is from Sengun, right? When he's just kind of clicking offensively. I mean, he reminds me of a mini Joker, basically, not size-wise, but just plays similar to how Joker plays, as far as being able to score at all levels, rebound, and assist. So being able to kind of hold him to 14 was pretty solid, especially when, I mean, how many minutes did Jackson Hayes really play? 14 minutes, right? So holding him, especially with our small ball lineup, putting Rui at the 5, LeBron at the 5, wherever you want to, Dorian at the 5, that kind of lineup where you're playing small, you're flying everywhere, you're creating havoc on defense, and I think they did a good job just containing some of the bigger guys tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned Jalen Green. I feel like I didn't hear his name much tonight, and so that's always a good sign. And as you attested to, he had a quiet night. 4 for 13 from the field, 9 points. Same with VanVleet, 7 points. Obviously, it was a little bit low scoring of a game, but not just the scoring, but I felt like their impact wasn't as much as it has been in a lot of their wins as of late. And so they obviously played last night in Phoenix, but I probably wouldn't worry too much about a young Rockets team playing back to back. Plus, they beat up on the Suns last night. so they didn't play a lot of minutes,
Yeah.
and so yeah, again, it was crucial to get this victory. And I mean, you did mention something about Dorian Finney-Smith, and I know you're going to get into the others, like Shaq likes to call it,
The
right?
others. Yep. Yep.
Because
Yeah.
they were
So,
balling out.
I mean, Dorian Finney-Smith off the bench had 20 points, 6 for 11 from 3-point, right? I mean, we needed that. That was huge. And his twin brother, Gabe Vincent, had 20, and he was 6 for 13 from three. So from your bench, you just got 40 from two guys and 12 threes. I mean, if they are playing like that going into the playoffs, that is, to me, that's pretty unguardable. If you have players off the bench playing that hot, hitting the corner three, getting set up in the corner, especially Gabe. He's been playing so well defensively. Dorian's been playing so well defensively. So those guys are just creating havoc on defense, and then also providing a lot of three pointers on offense, right? So they're creating that space, which obviously Luka and LeBron provide for the team, and AR. But when you got players like AR had an off game, he had 12 points. Didn't seem to shoot too much, and he was 5 for 11, so it wasn't like he was all over the place shooting. Just had one of those games that was just quiet, right? So you're bound to have
Yep.
one. LeBron only had 16 as well. So getting that much dynamic punch off your bench is huge, especially when you get into the playoff setting, though.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't your like textbook Laker victory. I think that's a good thing. It
Yeah,
wasn't so reliant on the big three. They obviously did their part, and they have their imprint on the game
yeah,
defensively.
yeah,
It's just they weren't as efficient tonight. But hey, it happens sometimes, especially like home games in the playoffs and towards down the stretch. That's when a lot of your role players tend to step up, and they really did.
yeah,
And one thing I was going to add too, because last game against Memphis, we were talking about their defensive struggles, and
yeah,
we talked about it's like kind of it's not so much the strategy; it's just more so the opponent, right? So
yeah,
Memphis is so high pace, high scoring,
for
so you
sure.
can't really look at the total at the end and say, "Oh, they played terrible defense," because that's
Hmm.
just the style that the team plays. And as you can see tonight, giving up 98 compared to I believe it was 127 or
Yeah,
so last game. They obviously probably made some adjustments, but I also think it was just that style of game was a little different. And Houston punishes you with size. Did they go? Did they go with the Twin Towers at all today? I didn't even notice that they did Adams and Sengun along.
I
But
didn't see that. I mean, I missed some components of the game, but when I was watching it, I didn't see both of them in there together, right? Let's see. Adams played. What did
16,
he play? 16 minutes off the bench.
they
So
they do it sometimes to like try to get that advantage on the offensive boards.
yeah,
Even if it's for like 5-10 minutes. So that's
yeah,
something
yeah,
they do. But I don't know if with the lineup the Lakers had out there, I think they would have probably ran them at the gym if they had those two in there.
yeah. Yeah, and
So
I was listening to JJ. I think he was talking pregame about having really back and how much he means to the Lakers and his ability to be that stretch five or whatever you want to call it. When they kind of go
yep,
to that lineup where it's small ball, and it's really the philosophy is to actually bring the big out, right? So bringing them out of the paint and then allow that create space for the rest of the team. So I think that's obviously when they go to that lineup. Sometimes we get a little frustrated. We feel like they need a big in there. They're getting kind of pounded. But the idea is to kind of bring that big out there to create that space so there's more open lane. So I get it from a basketball IQ point. I think at times it works really well. Like tonight was a definition game that you want to see with the small ball lineup. Like I felt like they did everything you're supposed to
yep.
do with that lineup, and super important to get them going like that. I couldn't ask for a better game as far as defensive game plan and offensive game plan. They had some struggles, obviously, in the first quarter, low scoring game in the first
Yeah,
half, right?
19-16, I think, in the first quarter,
Yeah.
something like
So
that.
both teams were struggling offensively and playing pretty good defense. What it ended up about was it 48 or 49, 48 at half.
Yep.
Um, right.
Second and the
So
third, there was a decent amount of scoring, but the first and
yeah,
the fourth was a little bit
yeah. I
more
mean,
low scoring.
we scored 16 in the first and 32 in the second. right? So they kind of get to get going with that. We've done a much better job in the third quarters, last couple games, right? So we're not blowing those leads or allowing them to get back in the game or take leads, right?
Yeah.
So they scored another 34 in the third, which was huge for the Lakers kind of moving forward in this game.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was a back and forth contest. It obviously could have gone any way. I mean, I feel like in the fourth, Lakers, even though it wasn't like a huge lead, but they almost had like I want to say a stranglehold, but it felt pretty comfortable for some reason.
Yeah,
But then again, it was very close. I think Houston was up by 9 early in the second quarter for just a sec, and then other than that, I mean, within 4, 5, 6 points both ways. And so, yeah, it was gonna. I mean, LeBron hit 2 big free throws, right?
yep.
He got
And
fouled.
the block at the end
Yes.
right there. So he hits 2 big free throws, gets that block to kind of seal the game for the most part, right? Stop any momentum that they were going to have. I thought that was
Yep.
just huge
Oh
from
yeah.
your 22nd season, 40-year-old playing at MVP level. I mean, it's, man, we talk about it all the time, but it's phenomenal what he's actually doing right now, and able to do in this league at this age. We'll probably never see it again. So we got to appreciate what we have and what's right in front of us, and just realize that how much impact he actually has on the game right now. And I think him just having another co-star like Luca who can create for himself is just giving him so much more energy. When he comes in, he's able to like use those spurts for defense, use those spurts for a little bit of offense. I think that's made a hell of a difference, obviously, with the trade, compared to when we had Anthony Davis, right? Even though Anthony Davis is a superstar in his right,
Yep.
but it was always hard for Anthony Davis to create by himself, right? He needed the ball in the post. He needed somebody to pass to him. He wasn't somebody that was going to create his own shot. And obviously, Luca put Sangoon on skates. I don't know if you
Oh, you
saw
see
that
that?
play,
Oh yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
he dropped him. It was a pretty nice move. Obviously, made the assist, and then we got the three with it. So it
Free
was
ball. Yep.
just his ability to do anything offensively on the court is by far, I mean, one of the best things LeBron probably could have in his 22nd season right now. So
Oh yeah. I mean, we
yeah,
always when AD was around, obviously we loved him, and he brought us a
yep,
chip, and he's dominant. But we'd always be like, "Boy, you gotta get your behind back, in that block, and
yeah,
get you the
yeah.
ball right." And that's
Yeah.
just this
Oh, and
is
Shaq say, "You better get in the post and
you you
hey, you
you
better get in the paint and
shoot them
handle
threes.
business."
You know what I'm
But
saying? Yeah.
it's
But
it's a different game, man. I mean, like, yeah, you want that big to dominate like that, but at this point, when you got three offensive skilled players like Luca, LeBron, and Austin Reeves being able to create anything they want, you don't need that big to obviously be in the paint like doing that. You just need somebody like a lob threat or somebody that's going to cut to the basket. So that's what Jackson Hayes has pretty much provided. He's kind of gone through games where he has really, really good games, and then today, only played 16 minutes and was needed when he was needed, right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's not like you said, not big minutes, but it was significant.
Yeah,
If you look going back to LeBron a bit, if you look at we talked a little bit about the stat sheet and obviously the points and whatnot, but
yeah,
those last 20 seconds hitting those big free throws, getting that big block. I mean, that is what really sealed the game, to be honest. And
yeah.
those are like those moments that we can't forget about because if he would have missed a free throw, we already know what would be out there,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Or if he,
yeah, yeah,
missed both, or if they would have obviously come back with him missing a free throw, what the story would have been. So when he hits them and when he makes that big defensive play, we gotta give him his props too, because
yeah,
he didn't, like you said he didn't have it like fully offensively today, but he
yeah,
was plucking away and still making a difference out there,
yeah,
obviously.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, what's your thoughts on the Rockets? Because we already know, if you guys remember in episode 2,
Houston.
Uh, I'm not a big believer in the Rockets. I like what they've done. I've obviously they're winning games in the second in the West, but yeah.
We're
Let me
gonna
let
see
me
him
see
again.
who they matched up with right now. If they were to be, if Golden State's at that 7, I mean right now it's Minnesota, right? So even Minnesota.
Who? What if Golden State plays them? Where you know what's
If
going to happen
Golden
there?
State plays Houston in the first round,
Possible.
the Rockets are going to Cancun. We all know that. Like that's not even a.
Houston, we have a problem.
And I love what the Rockets are doing, right? I think obviously Ime Udoka is a great coach. You know, he obviously was doing good stuff at Boston. I don't know what he does on the side or anything like that. We're not going to talk about that. But, you know,
Not
his
too
ability
sure.
to coach a team is obviously proven. He does a good job. He's brought this young Rocket team up. They're playing well. But if I'm going to, you know, if I had to pick, who are you going to trust? Jalen Green or Steph Curry?
Reminds me of when they played Sacramento a couple years ago.
You tell me. Yeah, I mean,
different style of team, but just
up
or
and Sengun, Draymond Green.
He's gonna punk him.
Jimmy Butler. I mean, yeah, like that matchup right there would be pretty troublesome for the Rockets, right? I think Minnesota and them, it's a hell of a series, right? If
could be a
slugfest.
Yeah,
like they match up with Minnesota or the Clippers or something like that.
Memphis.
It'll be a really, really good series. Yeah, because Memphis is falling, right? I mean,
yeah, we'll get into it, but I think Memphis is going to be in the play-in. This is my opinion, but we'll get into that in a bit.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that I do want to give the Rockets some credit. They're a hell of a team. They're young. They're fun.
The butt is coming. The butt is coming.
You know, I really like Amen Thompson. Like he's a hell of a player. I like Fred VanVleet. He's I like him. Sengun. I've talked about. You know how I feel about Sengun.
Yeah, he can play.
But if Golden State is playing him in the first round, it's not a good look. And if they get by anybody in the first round, say they play Minnesota, the Clippers, and they're at the 2, and the Lakers are at the 3 in the second round,
are we going to book it? Book the trip to. We're going to
Lakers would
Oklahoma City.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I'm not going to get into that right now because we need to get to the playoffs. But I'm just saying, I'm not a big believer of the Rockets right now. As they're constructed, I think they're a great team. But playoff time, I think they're going to have some difficulty when it gets into those type of series. That's all. Yeah. I'll leave it at that.
I just don't know if they'll be able to, obviously it's the defense is going to be big. I just don't know if they'll be able to score enough in the playoffs. I mean, I obviously can't say I've been watching Rocket Ball all year long, but some of the games that I've seen, it's other than when they play like not so stiff competition, it's like games like this. And so we'll see. I think if they get the right matchup, they might be dangerous. But like you said, like some of the teams that we mentioned, they're might even be an underdog in the series. So, but so many things have to still happen. There's still Lakers have 7 more games?
Yeah, we got 7 left, right?
Yeah,
that's what it is.
We're into April, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
April Fools.
Yeah. Tomorrow will be April Fools, right? So we got 46 wins, right? So 7 games left. What are we looking at record-wise for the Lakers? I know we talked about when they had 10 games ago. We want to be at least 7-3, 6-4, right? And
they won 2 out of 3, so they're
2 out of 3
so far.
Yeah, they're 2-1 since that point. So for the next 7 games, we got to finish up with, right? We got to at least win, probably go 5-2 or 4-3 at that point.
Yeah, I mean there's levels to it. So there's obviously the trying to stay out of the 5 and lower, right? So you can get that first round home series or first start at crypto. And then there's that move up to that next tier of second and third. So in my opinion, with 7 left to get to second, they're going to have to go 6-1. And that's 6-1 with one of those losses can't be. They still play Houston, by the way, again.
Yeah, they play them again, right? So that's another game they can. But they're 2.5 behind, right? So we got to win that game, and that'll make them 1.5, and then obviously Houston kind of lose some more games to kind of get to that point. But can you remind the audience why it's important to get a top 3 seed again? Because I don't know if everybody caught it on the last show. If you guys didn't hear this stat, I'm gonna let Eric B. Mack tell you it again because we're probably gonna tell you until the end of the season, until we
Oh
find out
yeah,
that seed.
till we find out. So keep in mind, folks. So in the history of the NBA, there's been 78 championships, right? 78, 7-8, right? And 76 out of the 78 have been a 1, 2, or 3 seed. So 97%, again, 76 out of 78 have been a top 3 seed that have won the championship.
Yeah.
And so that just tells you, if you're, worried about the numbers, and the numbers will tell you that you got to be a top 3 seed. The outliers are Houston in 95. They're the 6th seed. And they were coming off a championship too, that team. So obviously they probably were a little lackadaisical throughout the season, but they had that championship DNA. And then the other one was the Boston Celtics. They were a 4th seed in 1969. And they played the Lakers and they beat them in the finals. And so we know about the 60s Celtics winning every damn year. So obviously they had the championship DNA. And I think Lakers do too, but obviously this particular team hasn't won it. So it is highly important to be a top 3 seed. Let's just say that.
Yeah. I think, based on those stats, right? Like when you bring that up, you're like, how do we get excited about our teams? But now that if we finish 4th, that's all I'm going to be thinking about. Like
I shouldn't have brought it up.
We're going to be the 3rd team that's done it, right? Like you got to look history on it. History is not on our side. So, if I'm the Lakers, if I know anything about this, I'm like, fellas, we got to get that 3 at least, right? We got to get that 3. If we can move down to the 2nd seed, great. Chances are the Rockets would have to kind of collapse a little bit, right? Start losing some more games and all that. But I think if we can get down to that 3rd seed, and then we get a better matchup in the 3-6, and then we have the home court advantage there, and then we kind of get into the 2nd round, and then we're playing more the 2 seed, right? The 2 or the 7, right? Versus having to play OKC 2nd round, which I don't know if anybody saw what OKC did tonight against those pesky Bulls that beat us twice. But let them know what they do tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about the Bulls have been playing great basketball, and they have. They've been playing well, and kudos to them. Well, they went into OKC tonight, and they lost 145 to 117. And to be honest, it wasn't even that close.
No,
I saw 145 to 117. I was like, oh, they caught up a little bit because it was bad. Yeah, they outscored them by 12, the Bulls, in the 4th. So OKC wasn't messing around with that. Like Chicago is kind of hot right now. The return of Josh Giddey, right? They probably want to show him a little something. So, I mean, remember, Lakers do play.
We play them twice. Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like every time I'm looking at OKC, every game it's just like, I mean, are they even close sometimes? Like, looking at every single game recently, it's just, especially the last couple, it's been like
Clipper game was the only close one.
Yeah, 145, 117, 132 to 111 against Indiana, Memphis 125 to 104, Sacramento 121 to 105. I don't even know how close these games were at that point.
Nasty.
You had that Clipper game that was kind of cute, 103-101. Game before that, Charlotte. Do we need to go there? 141-106. Philly, 133-100. Milwaukee, 121-105. I mean, they're just whooping teams. Like, I mean,
business. They mean business for sure.
I mean, obviously, we know they're good, and we just got to keep putting some respect on their name, because they are playing lights out basketball right now. And they're a team that you would probably don't want to see early if you can. I mean, it is what it is whenever the matchups are the matchups. But if you can kind of get that momentum, get the 1st round, get the 2nd round, and then you meet them in the 3rd round or something like that, then, you got to beat the best teams, right? So at that point, you put all your chips in the basket and you try to get the dub.
Yeah, if you look at around the league, like those top teams are starting to gear up. You got Boston with 9 straight. You got OKC with 10 straight. They may have won. Well, they're 10 straight and 9 straight. So they're like, hey, we know the playoffs are around the corner.
Yeah.
And we're ready to roll. So It's going to be tough
Yeah,
on both conferences to beat those two teams.
for sure.
And so it's going to be tough. That's all I got to say. So
Yeah,
um, that's why it's a little. You want to get out of that 4-5. I know you're going to probably, if you get there, you're going to have to beat them at some point. I totally get it.
yeah,
But why not let Denver and OKC beat each other up in the second
yeah.
round,
Exactly.
right?
Like that. I want to see that matchup, right? Let them play against
Yeah,
each
that'd be
other.
fun. Hopefully, it's not in the Western Finals, but it would be fun if
Yeah,
it's in the second round.
yeah, it'd be a hell of a series.
And so,
Um,
yeah, looking
just,
into the
just,
standings.
just quickly, we got we're live on Twitter, YouTube, and
That's right.
Instagram. So
That's right. That's right.
if y'all have any questions or you want us to talk about anything, leave it in the comments. We'll try to get to it by the end of the show. Just letting you guys know if you haven't, just tuning in right now. But we are live on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. So just let us know if you have any questions, and we'll get at you towards the end.
Yes, guys, we try to make this as interactive as possible.
Yeah, man.
We're the men of the people, so we obviously love our Lakers, love basketball, we love like just talking hoop. But if you guys want to chime in on anything you're seeing
Yep.
out there that we didn't catch, please let us know. We'd love to include you folks.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's get we got a little bit into it, but let's really get the nitty gritty with the NBA standings right now. Kind of look at what playoffs would possibly look like. Kind of the games remaining for the Lakers, and just go from there. So what we got going on so far in the West?
Yeah, obviously we want to focus on the West more so. So obviously Lakers big win tonight. They're still at the 4, but definitely some separation now between them and Memphis at the 5.
Yeah, that
So
was huge.
2 games plus a tiebreaker. So it's technically 3
3
games
games,
with
yeah.
7 to go. So I feel pretty confident that Lakers will. I mean, you never know, of course, but will probably finish 4th or higher.
Yeah.
Obviously, just got to keep getting dubs, but the Clippers still are one of these teams. Like I know they're sitting at the 8, but they have 5 home games coming up in a row, 5-game
Okay.
stretch at home.
Yeah.
You got and then they got 2 on the road. So you got New Orleans. They play Dallas twice, San Antonio, these Houston Rockets.
Yeah.
So
So they got some.
I see them making a move. But it's pretty bunched up. Like we say, we keep saying like every day it could change. But what do you see there, Doc? Any kind of anything that stands out?
Yeah, I mean, just that separation with Memphis, man. That was huge to get that game on Saturday. Because I really wouldn't want them to be in the position where they can get the 5 or 6, right? Where it's like,
Right.
oh man, you lose a couple more and you're in that spot. And then we're talking about it's going to be a lot more difficult of a battle in the playoffs there. I like how close we are to Denver. We own the series with Denver this year, right? So
Two
essentially, go ahead.
sorry. Yeah, we it was 2-2, but we get the tiebreaker because of the division. Where we're going to
Yes,
be
that's
leading
right.
our division.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. It was. So basically, essentially, we're 1 game back, which is like if we tie them, we're in. So we just need Denver to kind of lose some more games, and they've been playing so ball. They're 5-5 the last 10 games there. So I like that ability to try to get up to the 3. Obviously Thursday is going to be a huge game in Golden State. And the one thing I do like the past couple games, ever since essentially the Indiana game, right? Everything's felt like a playoff game, right? So you got the Indiana game, goes down to the wire. You got the buzzer
Mm-hmm.
beater, obviously by LeBron. Then you go out to Chicago, you're handling business, and then give it all up in the third and fourth quarters, and you
Yeah.
lose on a half court shot, right? So then you go into Memphis, and it's like, hey, if we don't get a W
Big one.
today, it's going to be big problem for the rest of the season and probably in the standings. So they got a big victory there. You had 25-point games all from our superstars, right? So that was a huge game. And
Absolutely.
then you go in on Monday and handle business against the Rockets. So you kind of feel a little more secure with what going into the final stretch of the season. So I want to see if they can really prove on Thursday night and get that victory against the Golden State Warriors, and then hopefully on Friday they do not take the Pelicans lightly, right? Zion was ruled out for the rest of the year. CJ McCollum
Yep.
was ruled out for the
Yeah.
rest of the year.
Yeah.
What
Yep.
Herb Jones is out, right? So they got a slew of
They're all
team.
out.
To be honest, I can tell you who their starting lineup is right now because I just haven't paid attention to the Pelicans recently. But
Right.
just don't take that team lightly on Friday. So you obviously got to do one game at a time and beat the Warriors on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would imagine Rui will not be
Playing.
probably not playing the back to back. I mean, I'm not going to say for sure, but it seems like that's their plan so far for the rest of the season, and then that'll allow him to play pretty much all the playoff games because they will never be a back to back in the playoffs. So I think that's the focus right there. Is like one game at a time and catch up to Denver as best you can. Get that 3 seed because we all know a top 3 seed
Denver.
is important.
Essential and important. Yeah, no, good thoughts. Like big couple games coming up. Obviously, we'll see what happens on the back end of the two. Warriors. I know we got 2 days rest. I wanted to see the Warriors will play Memphis tomorrow. Damn, Memphis has a tough schedule. But
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
but and then one thing I wanted to add too, we were talking about like the standings and getting home court.
Yeah.
Lakers, they're 29-9 at home, 17-20 on the road.
Yeah.
So home court has been good to them this year. So that's
Huge.
another reason to
Yeah.
obviously try to get as many series at home than not, right? Because they definitely been a different team. Obviously, they're a completely different team since they got Luka, but I believe the numbers are kind of still similar. They've lost the games you think about that they lost as of late have been definitely some of them on the road. So
Yeah, I mean that's a huge difference in record, especially for a playoff team. I think if you look at the top 6 teams right now, we have the worst road record, right?
Yeah,
actually
absolutely.
going into the essentially
Clippers
top
have
8 teams, about the same as the Clippers. So that's a big stat right there. Your thoughts? What do you think they're struggling on the road? Is there anything that you see, or is it just more of just some of that home cooking?
Yeah, I think it's just like more what they're doing at home. I think you're often going to have like a not as good of record unless you have some just crazy record like OKC. OKC is 29-7 on the road. I mean, I think it's just a mixture of things. Like it seems like because they're not doing really good against the East, so a lot of those losses on the road were against Eastern Conference teams.
Yeah,
and
they
so
travel time and all that stuff, and I
a
think it
lot of
boils down
factors.
to like for the Lakers, like health, right? So like
Yep.
traveling on the road is a lot harder, obviously, than being at home with your comforts. Not worrying about getting swelling from the pressure on the plane. Not worried about when you're going to get the treatment, where you're going to get the treatment. So I think some of the injuries that we've had over the last couple of weeks, and especially with LeBron being out, Rui being out, I think that has definitely played a role in the road losses. So I think now, getting healthier, they should be a lot better on the road. You have a little bit more time in the playoffs as well. So, but again, that still shows you that just based on that record, you want to have home court, especially obviously in the first round, and then the second round, you're going to get what you're going to get. So.
Yep. Oh, no, it's huge. That's why these games are really big, and
Yeah.
at least getting it for that first round, and then hope that somehow the chips fall in your place, and you can get it in the second round too if you get that far.
For sure.
So, lots to be seen with the standings. Like every day, it
changes,
fluctuates. So,
yeah.
I mean, we obviously even helped Denver out technically by beating Houston, right? Because now they're a game in the loss column.
To
Houston.
They could possibly. I mean, they could possibly catch Houston and be the 2 seed, right?
Lakers could be the 3, and Houston could be the 4. I mean, you never know.
Yeah, and then you're looking at, a Denver Lakers second round series, right? Which is a lot different than the Lakers Rockets.
Lakers and Houston. Yeah,
so,
it is.
So we'll see when it gets down to that, but. Yeah, I mean it's a playoffs, man. I'm looking forward to playoff basketball. It's the best time of the year.
Absolutely.
Every game matters, and I think again the NBA's done a great job of making the regular season matter with the play-in. I wasn't as much a believer with the play-in system, but like basically how each team is in playing. Now we don't really worry about who's resting who for the most part. Every
Right.
team is kind of all in it. I hope OKC rested a couple players when we play them back to back.
I
But
know.
if not,
Please.
we obviously want to see what they got, and we want to kind of prove ourselves to them too. So bring your best players, bring your best game, and hopefully the Lakers can kind of get some wins there too.
Yeah, man. Well, I think you got to get these two so that you can get that split, I believe, against
Yeah,
OKC,
yeah,
and then win out after that. I mean, that's kind of like the goal I have for them. And obviously, if it doesn't work out, at least get
yeah,
the number 3 seed, maybe with a couple losses they could afford. But
yeah.
yeah, we'll see. I think it's nice that they're going to get a couple of days off here at
Yeah,
home.
yeah. This is gonna be
Much
huge for
needed.
them, especially with like just having 2 days off. Let everybody rest. Let LeBron get some rest. Obviously, Rui get some rest. I mean, heck, Austin Reeves has been banged up, right? I'm sure that ankle doesn't feel the greatest, but he's a grinder. He plays pretty much through everything. So,
Yep,
and
sure does.
that could have been a limitation tonight, right? You could be
Yeah,
just not feeling as great tonight. He wasn't as explosive, so that ankle could have been bothering him a little bit. Hard to tell because he's never going to show you. But those 2 days rest in between are going to be huge for them. So it's good.
yep, no, definitely. And that injury kind of is a little bit of a segue to.
Yeah,
I know we wanted to talk about a few injuries around the league, and
yeah, man.
I know there's KD. Obviously, we alluded to Zion a little earlier.
Yeah.
So what's going on? I guess first with KD.
Yeah, you got Kevin Durant went down last night with the ankle sprain. It was, the typical ankle sprain, a little inversion of the ankle, the lateral ankle sprain. It didn't look overly severe,
Mm,
but they said Shams did tweet out that he's going to be out at least a week. Um,
gotcha.
and so with Phoenix kind of being on the outside there.
Yeah, I
They're
was gonna look
what a
real quick.
game back
Yeah,
from the 10 seed. They're close to Sacramento, right? They have how many games? 25. So they have 7 games left right now.
yeah, I'm
So
taking a look.
you're looking at KD at least missing three games, possibly 4 games. And at that point, are you still in the playoff scenario? My first thoughts was like, is this the last time we saw KD in a Suns uniform? Right, that's the first thing I thought when kind of he
Yeah,
went down, and knowing that
very
there's
good
only
possibility.
a week and a half, 2 weeks left in the season. This is the last time we saw KD in a Suns uniform. So we'll see if he gets back. I mean, luckily it seemed like it was just a grade 1 sprain, so that timeline is usually 7 to 10 days
Right.
um, of when people would typically get back. And see how his ankle responds, and then maybe he gets back a little bit earlier, or he's able to provide something in the last couple of games. But that was the major one yesterday. Zion and CJ McCollum were ruled out for the rest of the
Hmm.
season, partly because the Pelicans suck,
Yeah, they're
and
done.
they're just pretty much tanking at this point, try to get the best position they can in the
Oh,
draft. Oh, if they get, all right.
Koopa,
I I
Cooper,
don't want the Pelicans to get the number 1 pick. I'm
Cooper
trying to
Flag.
hate on the Pelicans, but they just seem they've gotten like a lot of like they got Zion, they got AD,
And
and they seem to never be able to keep their superstars and never kind of get to their full potential. So you got Cooper Flag coming up, which I think he's going to be a hell of a player. But it looked like the Pelicans are what? Gosh, they're almost last place compared 21-54, right?
yeah,
So that was
Utah's below them.
a probably easy decision to pull the plug on those 2 players for them. I will start talking about Zion a little bit. He only played 30 games this season,
Man, is that
and
right?
it's unfortunate because last year he had 70 games, but he played pretty much the whole season. And then it was the end of the season when he tore his hamstring. and they couldn't get
That
into the
that
playoffs that year.
that play-in game, yeah, against the
Yeah,
Lakers.
so it sucked, man. He
It's
was
crazy.
playing at all-star level last year. Played 70 games. Had the hamstring injury again, which is so unfortunate. And then this year he's had just numerous type of elements and injuries and things like that. And only was played 30 games, man. That's not
Wow, I didn't realize that.
ideal. Yeah, the year before he played 29, and the year before that he played 61, which was the kind of the year after COVID, right? And then the year before that, his first rookie year, played 24, right?
Wow,
So it's every other year he has played 24, 29, and 30 games. And that just it's tough to be a superstar when you're not available,
can't stay on the
right?
court. Yeah,
You
can't
got to
stay on the
stay on the
court.
court. Um, it's unfortunate because you want to see him succeed, but he's got to figure it out in the off season, going into another off season,
Yep.
being injured, figuring out. He looked like he lost a good amount of weight, so that was a kind of a good thing as far as getting his body right, being able to kind of take the rigors of the NBA. But again, he only played 30 games, man. So it's
It's crazy.
unfortunate to see. I hope for the best, and I hope he can kind of get healthy and stay healthy. But sometimes it might be a change of scenario, a change of scenery. That might be a good thing for a player like this. I know they've had some butting heads with the Pelican staff as far as
Hmm.
like I remember him coming on in an interview talking about, oh, I would play right now if I was allowed to, but
Right. Remember
I
that.
just work for the Pelicans. They make the decisions, right? So you can tell there's some friction there of him thinking he can play sometimes when the Pelican staff wants to kind of hold him back a little bit. So either there needs to be some, you know, some talking and management with Zion and kind of everybody being on the same page. But I think something needs to kind of change.
Oh yeah, I mean they. It's sad that they would probably take like 60 games next year, like in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
Just because
yeah,
he's been like nowhere near that mark, other than of course the year before last that he got 70. And
yeah,
I remember that playing game they'd like come back against the Lakers, and like the last minute he hurt his hammy and
yeah.
missed the
That was
missed the
it.
playoffs, um, and that was it. They got I believe swept in the first round against
Yeah,
OKC. So yeah, I mean that's unfortunate. Obviously with KD, I mean, geez, I mean they do play Phoenix play Sacramento the last game of the year. Maybe that'll be
yeah,
for the 10
yeah.
seed
That
or
could
something.
be that actually could be basically another playing game, right? So it could
Yeah,
be
it could be.
for the plan. So yeah, he might make it back. I just don't
I don't know though.
understand what happened with that trio. I feel like Devin Booker doesn't feel like the same player either right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's almost like
Not a, not at
he's
all.
stunted his growth in these last 2 years. I mean, think about how the Phoenix Suns were in the play in the finals, right? You go from that kind of Devin Booker where you're like, wow, this dude is ascending to the top of the league.
Balling.
You get KD, and you're still like, oh, that should take you over the top, and doesn't seem to be working. They've had Vogel, they've had Coach Bud. Um, I mean, what are you gonna do?
Oh,
Fire Coach Bud again? Like
I,
after this
I
season?
think so. I think so. I mean, what are you gonna really bring him back? I mean, this is terrible. I mean, the only
Yeah,
thing is if they just close a clean house and they say, hey, we want Coach Bud just to lead maybe a younger team with Booker there or something. But
Booker there.
yeah, I
Yeah,
wouldn't be surprised if this is the last time we've seen um, KD and Mr. Durant in a Suns uniform because
yeah.
I mean, gosh, their next 5 games are Bucks, Celtics, Knicks, Warriors, OKC.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
That's
they,
gonna
they
be
might
super tough
they
for them to
might be out of
even
it.
sniff it. Yeah, I mean, I think this might be the last time we see KD in a Suns uniform.
It's very well possible. It's very well possible.
Yeah,
We'll see where he ends up next
yeah,
year. That'll be another story to tell. But yeah, it's tough. Some of these injuries, and obviously like the ones with the Pelicans, it looks like it's more precautionary. They're
yep,
going
yep,
nowhere.
yep.
Hopefully, Lakers will be the benefactor of that because they do still
Yep.
play them one game. And we'll see from there.
Yeah, man. Yeah, tough season, but it's almost time for playoff basketball.
Playoff
Right. So,
ball.
I mean, best time of the year.
Start.
I don't know if you saw that fight between Minnesota
Freaks.
and Detroit yesterday.
Woo!
That
You
got
mean
my
the
blood
bad
going, right?
boys?
Yeah.
The
Oh, they
bad
think
boys.
Detroit think they're the young bad boys, especially that Isaiah Stewart. It don't matter if there's a fight. You
I
know who's
I
gonna be
knew
there.
when I heard about it, I was
Oh yeah,
like, 100% homie is going to be up in that kind of like
yeah,
with LeBron and like every other
yeah,
time that Detroit's gotten in a brawl.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's
I
crazy.
saw. I was like, oh, Dante's involved. I saw another guy, and then the next thing I know, I see this dude running through, getting through the crowd, and just like putting his hand on Dante. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's Isaiah Stewart. And then he mouths. You see him mouth to the crowd. He's like Detroit, like so. He's all about that. I love it.
Detroit
Um,
basketball.
I love what the Pistons are doing. You know, see, I've been talking about the Pistons. I've been talking a lot about Pistons, but with the Rockets, I don't feel the same way. But I just love that grind, that grit, the toughness of what the Pistons are bringing.
Absolutely.
JB Bickerstaff is doing a hell of a job over there. Um, you know, I think, like I said, who would I tell you if they match up with in the first round?
If it's a Knicks and Pistons,
Yeah,
it's right
I
now
think
it'd
that's
be
gonna be tough.
Pacers.
Yeah,
That's
because
the.
we were talking about the Bucks that have been falling apart, right? So
Oh
the
yeah.
Pistons were the sixth seed, and now
Yep.
they're in the fifth seed. So that Pacers Indiana, I mean Pacers and Piston series, it's gonna be pretty good too, right? So I think Detroit is gonna surprise some folks. Yeah, I don't know if they get by in the first round, but I do think they're gonna be a tough team, a tough out um, going into this playoffs. I think
Yeah.
if the Knicks get lucky and get Milwaukee, I think the Knicks will
Should
figure out
win
a
that
way to
one.
kind of get through Milwaukee because you know I don't they haven't ruled out Dame, um, you know, but based on every in the history of blood clots, people have been out for multiple months, and usually there's a pretty high level of screening to get back. So you know, still thinking about Dame, but I just don't think he's going to be coming back this season. So that's going to be a tough task for Giannis and Kuzma to try to get by anybody in the first round.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially, yeah, facing a Knicks. I'm assuming Brunson will be hopefully
Yeah, he's
back
supposed to
or
be back. Yeah, they said end of March, early April. So obviously we're at the end of March and he's still not back. That sprain was significant. I mean, when I saw that, I was like, yeah,
yeah,
4 to 6 week at least. So he more than likely had like a grade 2,
look
even
brutal.
probably possibly a grade 3 sprain. Those ankle ligaments, so they've been completely stretched out. So the other thing is when he does get back, you know, I'm sure he'd be heavily taped or at least pretty significant ankle brace. Might have some limited mobility, but you know, for the most part, I'm sure he's a tough dude. He'll probably be able to grind it out and kind of get that offensive punch that the Knicks surely need going into the playoffs.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Hopefully he's close to 100% as possible because they'll need him,
Yeah,
and if they do have him, I think they'll be much more of a threat, especially in that second round against Boston, which don't expect them to be Boston, but they need Brunson to even
uh,
be able to make it a series. I mean, I still think
yeah,
it's. I mean, we'll
yeah.
it's going to be Cleveland and Boston in the Eastern Finals. I mean,
Oh, for
but
sure. Yeah, I mean, I think
but
that's no matter what how it matches up, that's more than likely going to be the matchup there. Boston is coming right now. They are
9
on a
straight,
tear. They won 9 straight. They won six on the road, or went 6-0 on the road trip.
right?
Um, and technically, I mean, they're not going to get the number one seed more than likely. They're 4 games back, but that gap has gotten so much closer over the
Oh
past
yeah,
like 2, 3 weeks, where you're
100%.
just like, whoa, totally forgot about that. But I think Boston is rounding in the form. They're obviously champions. They have all the players and talent to kind of get to the finals again. I think it would just be up to Cleveland if they can actually, because they haven't really been there, right? So they haven't
No,
done it. They're talented. They're uber talented, but do they actually get past the Boston Celtics team? I don't think so.
Yeah,
Barring
it seems
some
so.
sort of health or injury type of thing. I think Boston's it's the East is Boston's for the most part. It'll
Oh
be
yeah,
tougher. I think this year will be a tough matchup, and like they'll have a tough time getting through. Probably have to play the Knicks or something in the second round again, um, and then have to play a really really good Cleveland team. Even though last year they matched up against Indiana, and Indiana was a lot of fun, I just didn't think they were going to really give them anything that they wouldn't be able to handle. Right. But Cleveland can kind of match up
yeah,
with Boston pretty well. So it'll be a hell of a series when it gets to that point, if they gets there.
yeah. I mean, I think Indiana, they really got fortunate. Knicks were so banged up in that series against them. That's what made them.
Yeah. Yeah. That was
They,
the main thing.
yeah, got them to the Eastern Finals, and then obviously Indiana was completely outmatched. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, this is exciting times. The playoffs start, I believe, like 3 weeks from last Saturday. Obviously, they'll have to play in between there as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, these last 2 weeks, last 7, 8 games are going to be um, some big ones and some seeding yet to be determined. Some obviously top teams that have been good all year. They're going to get some well deserved rest, and we'll see where the chips fall.
Yeah, man. Playoff basketball is going to be a lot of fun.
You know,
Um,
can't wait.
we'll see. Can't wait. So let's see if we got any questions kind of here. We got my man Will Dryden on Instagram chiming in. Ankles, shortest to longest you are out. So I was kind of referring to KD, right? You know, he had probably like a grade 1 sprain. So typically that's about 7 to 10 days, 1 to 2 weeks, give or take, depending on the pain level and kind of like how he's healing up. Versus like say Jalen Brunson, right? Jalen Brunson's been out for over a month now, still hasn't returned, and then more than likely had a solid grade 2, grade 3 sprain, which is likely keeping him out about 6 weeks. So they can always range depending on severity and grade level there. But yeah, good question there. Let me get, let's see, not basketball questions, but Cam Miller on YouTube. Any thoughts on the Profar suspension?
I got some thoughts on it.
What
So
happened last year? Was he
yeah,
he was playing at an all-star level, and then all of a sudden, I don't know,
yeah.
got popped for something, right? So who knows what's going on with that?
Obviously, the Padres got fortunate that they didn't re-sign him because they would have been on the hook. Obviously, he got
Yeah,
suspended, and I think I read
yeah.
he's ineligible for the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. So he can come back and play in the regular season, but there's some kind of ruling there that
Oh, really?
I,
I did
I
not hear
believe
that.
that's what I saw. I
Okay.
don't know. I hope I read that right, to be honest.
Oh, okay. That's
Um,
interesting. So they'll let him come back after 80 games and just won't be able to play?
Correct me if I'm wrong out there, guys. I know this is not a baseball show, but I
Yeah,
thought I saw that. Then again, I just like saw it real quick, but
yeah,
nonetheless, he's going to miss a lot of. I'm trying to see if I could find it quick, but he's going to miss a lot of games. And I know, as I said, Padres, Padres and Dodgers, they're both still undefeated, so
yeah, man.
pretty crazy to see. But yeah, I'm sure the Padres are pretty happy that they didn't resign him because we would have been on their asses if they did, and he would have been out just like Tatis was not too long ago with
Yeah,
the
for sure.
PEDs and
Exactly.
so yeah, I mean it's unfortunate for Atlanta. They're pretty banged up. They haven't won a game this year yet, 0-5.
Yeah, it's rough.
And so, but baseball's a long season, and
Yeah,
they should be getting Acuna back. He's been out, and Spencer Strider and a couple of their top pitchers should be back, and so I'm sure they'll be okay.
yeah,
But yeah, it's an 80 game ban.
yeah, man.
That's pretty crazy. Wow. Anyways,
Yeah,
but so that's a big chunk of the season. So,
yeah,
but thanks for the question.
absolutely.
We like
Yeah,
we like
I mean,
to
good questions
mix
on the
things
ankle
up.
stuff. But yeah, anytime you can always just drop some messages. Tag us anytime. Tag at Game Injury Doc, at Eric B Mac. Anytime you guys have questions or you want anything for us to discuss on the show, we'll put in the notes and we'll discuss it as long as we get some of those questions, and we'll answer them. But hell of a win. The Lakers clap by the Lakers there. I think going into this stretch of the season, those 2 wins against Memphis and Houston were super important. Gives them a lot more confidence to kind of finish off the regular season. So we'll be back on Thursday after the Golden State game. But until then, follow all of us on Game Injury Doc at Eric B. Mac, the Hoops Rehab Show. We'll be coming at you live after every Laker game. And then also during the playoffs. I don't know how many times we're going to be live, but we'll probably be live a pretty good amount.
It's going to be a bonus. It's going to be a bonus. So
thanks you guys for tuning in. We're glad everybody's kind of tuning in and streaming the show. If you missed today's show, we got the replay for you. I'll post that as soon as possible.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Go Lakers. We'll see you guys in a couple of days, probably right after the final horn, and let's get it.
Peace.
Peace out, guys.